Ms. Bowman for the roll call, please.
Counselor Belts?
Here.
Where'd she go?
Needs to unmute Counselor Belts, who's on.
So I've unmuted me. Have you unmuted me?
Just raise your hand. We can't hear you, Counselor Belts. Okay, she's here.
She's here.
She can hear us. We can't hear her at the moment.
Counselor Carey?
Here.
Counselor Lopez?
Present.
Counselor McKeel? Here. Counselor Oberst?
Yes.
Counselor Ridgway?
Here.
Mayor Kuntz?
I am present. And Counselor Lopez, would you please lead us in the flag salute this evening? Tonight, our consent calendar consists of the minutes of the meeting of September 16th. Those were in the packet. Are there any additions or corrections or a motion to approve?
I'd move approval. Second.
Thank you, Counselor Carey, for the motion and Counselor Oberst for the second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? All right, will take us to the public comment section. And tonight we do have a public comment. I would like to call Mr. Bill Foster forward. And please state your name, although I just stated it, and where you reside. And be sure to press the button. The
Press
red
that
light
button.
means you're on.
Bill Foster. I live in Independence. I'm here tonight to thank the council for all this whole city for the support you have provided us over the years for music in the park. I realize at times it may be a little struggle sometimes, but it's well worth it. This year was probably one of our better years. Due to some advertising differences we did, we were drawing people from quite a distance to get here. It was good to see some of you at the park during those performances. That's always, for me, I warms my heart when I see you guys there. Because I know you're not only providing the funds, but you also are willing to come and share some of it with us. And we appreciate that. We've had a good crew. Suzanne did a good job this year getting the bands. I had a good team. I can't name them all, take too long. But again, just wanted you to know that we do appreciate it. We're still having fun at it. So, and I guess that's what counts. When it quits being fun, I guess that's time for me to resign. So I'm still here.
Thank you, Bill.
Any questions or comments for Bill or about the Monmouth Business Association sponsorship of our Music in the Park?
Well done.
No, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Bill. We could not do it without you. At this time, we do have some guests with us. They're not really guests. They get to use this room as much as we do. Our Planning Commission and kind of hear a little bit about what's going on. So staff members, Suzanne Duffner, our Community and Economic Development Director, Chair Stephen Howard, and we've got two other members here. We might have questions for you. You need to come forward.
All right, well, thanks for having us, council. We are currently, I think, 8 members. We've got Zach and Bill with us tonight. We also have Isaac Weniger, Cassidy Cotter, Holly Tangeman, who's currently our vice chair, Tom Burkholder, Randy Loudry on the commission as well. John Kerry is our council liaison, and of course we've got Suzanne Duffner and Carter Craig as our staff members. Not with us tonight, but recently retired. We're hoping at some point to recognize Donna Cable, who has been on the commission for 23 years, was chair before I was, and we're looking forward to getting a chance to honor her. Some things we've been up to this last year.
That's not for you. That was for the previous speaker.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. There we go. I think that'll do it. Great. Okay. So in terms of our work this year, we had two property-specific decisions come to us. We had a site plan review for a neighborhood commercial development in the Edwards Addition that included 2 variances to some of our design standards. And we also had a conditional use permit come to us for a child care center adjacent to a church. For our long-term planning activities, we had several sessions on the economic opportunities analysis work, looking at our commercial industrial lands, both as a group and with council, which culminated in our legislative amendment recommendation of 2501 that came to you. And we also spent some time reviewing housing production strategies. Staff provided us a report so that we could provide some feedback on the work that we did several years ago on figuring out how to keep up with housing needs in the city. Some of the other business that we were up to this year, there was some meeting rules revisions at the state level, so we had to refresh ourselves on the rules around serial meetings and things like that. And the city staff also helped build a land use decision tracker on the website and brought that to us for some feedback so that citizens can tell what's going on in the city and increase some transparency there. That is largely what we were up to this year. I think Suzanne can maybe help us talk about the coming year, but I think one of the things we'll probably be doing is talking about taking a look at how the recent code revisions have been shaking out in terms of actually applying them to land use. And we'll have to start looking at next steps for the economic analysis for what that actually means for having land ready for development.
Nice job, Commissioner. I didn't have much to add to that. Just to echo what Commissioner Howard said, we've had a few years now to test drive the development code update when we modernized our code and tried to make it remove some of the barriers to housing development to encourage its production. So we know a couple standards that seem to be coming back and having multiple issues with it, with some clarity on the language. So you know that those codes are works in process, and we're already doing some research on, again, how other communities, for example, deal with the window glazing standards and just how to measure those on housing units. So we do anticipate probably doing some housekeeping amendments. The legislature has been busy working on more housing initiatives. So we do anticipate that there'll be some items eventually coming down the pike on that as well. In addition to kind of the second phase of the economic opportunities analysis and getting into the actual land supply issue, making sure that we have enough 20-year land supply for commercial industrial and that properties are zoned for that. We have the work to adopt the transportation system plan update. So you'll see that coming through council's agenda as well. So there's a work session with the Planning Commission on that in a couple weeks, I think. So yeah. And then, of course, getting more feedback and monitoring that housing production strategy, I think is something that's just, you know, we just have to keep focus on that's housing affordability continues to be an issue. So It's a pleasure to get to be their staff liaison and work with them so closely. They are just great people and smart and well thought and express themselves and work together, and have differing viewpoints, but can talk about them very diplomatically and inclusively. So I do appreciate the perspectives that each one of them bring to that. And it's sad to lose Commissioner Cable, a lot of that institutional knowledge, but we're excited to get some new folks having opportunity to serve as well. So yeah, just thanks for all that they do.
And I have one question about the role of the Planning Commission in our UGB swap. How does that process? I mean, we know we've got a lot of steps and things to do, but I assume that will be on the work plan.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, for reminding me. Yep, that is also on the work plan as well. So in alignment with the House Bill 2647 that was passed for Monmouth to do a streamlined UGB swap, there will be some work coming to the Planning Commission as a result of that. So there will be some comprehensive plan map amendments that will need to get reviewed before those new designations can get placed on the properties both being swapped out and the ones being swapped in, and before it comes to council and to the Polk County as well. So those are legislative decisions that the Planning Commission does get involved in making recommendations to the council. And I think it kind of highlights this year that transition that we've made, the Planning Commission has as a result of some of those recent state legislation, and that they're doing less of the design reviews and the subdivisions, which the state made administrative staff level review decisions with an appeal to the Planning Commission, and more to like a policy advisory and longer range planning projects. So, but not to worry, we will keep them busy. Yeah.
Other questions? Councilor Carey.
Suzanne, what kind of a timeline, you were talking about getting that UGB swap sort of into our own language and things reversed. What kind of a timeline are we talking on that?
Yeah. So the bill becomes effective January 1, 2026. So we have a few months yet to be able to do some of the prep work, actually, which we are working on. I've actually hired the COG to help us with some of the mapping exercises, because we need to make sure that we're minimizing the impacts to the environmentally sensitive lands that we're swapping in. So I anticipate we can still, based on my understanding from legal, and feel free to correct me, but anticipate that we'll at least be coming to council to initiate the action, do some of the initial public hearing work, but they can't actually adopt any ordinances to adopt your decisions on those comprehensive plan amendments until after January 1. So if all goes well, I would say sometime in November, the council will probably see that request to initiate the legislative amendment. And then Planning Commission will see it probably sometime in December to make a recommendation on that. So yeah, it'll be coming forward here soon. Do you want to make a comment?
I did want to point out that our work is made much more effective and much easier by having great staff. There's not a meeting that goes by where the staff report isn't basically everything we need to know about whatever is coming across our desk. That's been great.
And just as a comment, this is a well-functioning group. I think they have good staff leadership. Stephen has got experience, and he knows how to run a meeting. It's 60 minutes almost every time. Bill Foster he was here when dirt was forming, and Zach has been a great new addition. Brings a nice touch to that, as do the remainder of our members. Nice balance between those that have been here and in the saddle, so to speak, and then those that are new with new ideas. And Stephen does a great job of sort of marshaling all of that. So congratulations. We're proud of you as a group, and we trust what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, seeing no other questions, thank you very much again for all your time and work. And that brings us to our business agenda. We have some good news about the trolley. And so Rochelle is going to bring this forward.
Thank you, Mayor. So if you remember, probably in about March or April, I had informed the council that we had been awarded approximately $750,000 in state funding to help with the operation of the trolley. So this is the first portion of that. This is for 711,582 of that 750. There's an additional 38,000 in federal funding that will, I think the agreement will come forward later. So that's the other piece to get to the approximately the 750. So basically, this is a subrecipient agreement. This is through Chariots, and so they are called, it's Salem Area Mass Transit through Chariots to us. And so this is the first time we've ever received this funding. And I wanted to bring the contract before the council to make sure we were all on board with receiving this funding. And it's timely in that we need to get this signed and over because we can start doing the first quarter reporting for July, August, and September. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Councilor Ridgway.
I don't have any questions. I was just reading through. I noticed there might be a typo in section 23.1. The word provision has a couple of number ones in it, but no concerns. '23.
The numeral 1 instead of the letter I in the word provision.
Seems like a PDF download issue I have occasionally. So yeah, that's thank you for that, Kat. Councilor McKeel.
I'm ready to make a motion. I move to approve the acceptance of $711,582 in grant funding through the Straight Transportation Improvement Fund and giving authority for City Manager Rochelle Roden to sign and initiate the sub-recipient agreement with the Salem Area Mass Transit District for the Monmouth Independence Trolley Program.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilor McKeel for the motion and Councilor Oberst for the second. Any additional questions or comments? Councilor Carey.
Just we in the report there's quoted a pretty wide variance in riders per month, and obviously that's going to change based on school in, school out, lots of different things. What are we doing to mine the data that we could, or mine data from that ridership? I keep trying to tie some kind of a business impact to that, you know, that whether it's, I don't know, Mendy's or up, you know, somewhere here in town. I don't know. I mean, I'm not in that. I'm in deep water when I talk about that, but it just seems like the more we could make the case that this is impacting in a positive way Monmouth Independence both business, then the greater array of grants or support or whatever it is might be. So I'm just curious what we're doing on that, and maybe that'll be the charge of the new.
I will say that Sabra and I just lost his name, the communications director in Independence, also worked together and hired some WU students to do some survey information and go on and survey the riders. There is information from that that's come back, and I'm probably going to be asking Sabra to come and give a presentation to the council to give you the data that we received from that. But with the IGA, that'll come back hopefully in the next month, which will establish the MyTalk and the MyTac. Then through them, we'll be able to do further data and that type of thing and do more data mining. But this is an initial, we thought let's get some information as to who's riding the trolley to go forward, especially for funding requests.
Councilor Ridgway.
Under the alternatives section, it says ask staff for additional information. Can I ask staff for additional information?
I'm sorry? Yeah, so basically what it is, you don't have to do the motion. If the alternatives could be that you don't do the motion and you ask staff to get additional information before the council reviews or approves it or reviews it again. That's what that's pertaining to.
I see. I thought that meant to ask in real time what the alternatives might be, but
Yeah.
I understand.
No, yeah, that's just a potential thing we could have done, except the motion's on the floor, so. Any other questions or comments? All right, I will have Phyllis take the roll call for the vote on the motion to approve the acceptance of the $711,582 in grant funding and give authority for City Manager Rochelle Rood to sign and initiate the subrecipient agreement.
Counselor Ridgway,
Aye.
Counselor Oberst,
Yes.
Counselor McKeel,
Yes.
Counselor Lopez,
Aye.
Counselor Carey,
Aye.
Counselor Belts.
Aye.
We should be able to hear you now. Motion passes 6-0.
All right, thank you very much. And we have an administrative action before us this evening. Our Rochelle is going to make a request for, do we need Wade to come up? Wade's going to come up. Wade Carey, Director of Power and Light. Please come forward. Apparently you're going to make a request of us.
All right. Thank you, Mayor, members of council. In your packet, I submitted a staff report. I was finally successful in selling my home, which I thought I may have to die in. And during that process, I found that finding a home right here close by was a little more difficult than would have liked. And we ended up finding a place down in Adair Village, which is nice. I was actually able to go home today, put on a different shirt to come back tonight. And so really, this whole process has led me to have the ask that, you know, I'm in a 1-year lease now. We do anticipate buying when that expires or around that time. You know, the city handbook, the employee handbook says my position has to live within 10 minutes of the city limits, which can be somewhat limiting to our options for purchasing a home. So, you know, and I laid that out in the staff report. So what I'm asking for is to be granted an exception to live within 30 minutes of driving time from the city, so that when we do go to buy, we have more options available to us.
Okay. Questions or comments? Councilor Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you very much, Wade. I believe my question is maybe best suited for the table here. It's always confused me as to the way that this is calculated in time, not miles. I drive that road often, and for the record, I have no concerns about this motion. I am in support of it. However, if you get stuck behind some farm equipment, you know, a couple miles can look a lot different as opposed to if you just have, you know, open roads ahead. And so the next time that there is some kind of review and revision of this section of city code, I would ask that we clarify this in terms of, you know, something a little bit more concrete as opposed to the more ambiguous 30-minute drive or 10-minute or whatever it is drive time. With that, and I don't want to hold up tonight, you know, I just don't like the drive time thing. I'd say put however many miles and move ahead. But if that holds things up, I'm happy voting for it.
Councilor Oberst.
So I think that most of these requirements for living close come from the notion of, in case of emergency, we need to have our department heads close. And Wade, you did a great job of pointing out that since rules like this were made, technology has changed and you can be in touch, even though you're not physically present. And so with that, I would be supportive of this.
Counselor McKeel, and then I have a question.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So actually, the emergency is what exactly I thought of as the Director of Power and Light. Could you explain then how a cell phone would be okay, that your body doesn't have to be here? Because I think of all the departments, Power and Light's the one that we're always like, lights go down and then we need somebody to do that. So that was my concern, and I agree too, cell phones work, but I think I also did for a while in the county health department, emergency responders, and they needed somebody physically there. But so if you could explain that, that would be great.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead, and Carol, if you want to turn your mic off, I'll just expand that. Let's go ahead and talk about just our emergency operations, who else you have, and where their locations are. So if you can expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So first you should understand that because I'm not a qualified electrical worker, I could not, we could have lines down in the road and there's nothing I legally can do. That requires a certified lineman, of which we have several, and they all live within the required time. They're required to be within 30 minutes of town as well. Some of them are closer, some of them are, out of ways. I don't think we have anybody who's actually 30 minutes away. So, in the event of even something large scale, just my ability to be in contact with them so that I know what is going on is about as far as I can go, with the exception of maybe being in the office and helping, just direct some. All of my positions within Power Light are within IBEW 125. They're all union work. There's very limited things that I could actually physically do work-wise to rectify any type of large outage or anything like that. So all I really need to do is be able to be in contact with them to provide some guidance. And if it was a large enough event, of course, I would still come in and things like that. But also our new metering system gives me the ability to see once it's fully installed, all of our meters. So I will be able to visually see where our outages are. I mean, last year I was in Redmond and working an outage at 3:00 in the morning from my sister's house with that same technology. So and then in the capital improvement plan, I have plans to install a SCADA system, which again is another system that I'll be able to see system readings throughout remotely to get more information. So that's really what it comes down to is I couldn't go out in the field and do much anyways. So as long as I can be in contact with my general foreman, who's Mike Gregory, he lives just out of town, our foreman, things like that, that's really all it takes.
And I know also from past experience, your other ear, you're talking to them and then you're talking to our communications person, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. When we have anything of size, I'm routinely in contact with Sabra so that she can post updates on Facebook or the website, which is something that we weren't doing here. And the feedback we've got from our customers and the citizens is they really like that. So we will certainly continue to do that.
Thank you. So I guess really we can't even let you go on vacation if we're worried about how far away you live. So I'm really impressed that you were able to follow everything from Redmond. That's cool. Thank you.
Technology today is just so much better, and we can get a lot of information remotely that we used to not be able to get 10 years ago.
Councilor Carey?
One of the things that I'm in general support of this, but I have some concerns as well. We have a disaster emergency plan that we adopted a number of years ago, and I didn't look for it because I couldn't have found it. But there's a command center. There are, and I guess one of the questions I have is there anything in that would require an on-site, like everybody huddle up? We got a meeting here, and Wade needs to be there. The police chief needs to be here. Polk County District or Fire District 1, and is there anything that is in there that this would create a problem for? that you're aware of?
Not off my memory that I can recollect, no.
Yeah.
It's interesting because there could be an emergency situation that requires us to get here. And someone can live 20 minutes that way and somebody can live 10 minutes this way, or 10 miles and 20 miles. But it depends on where the emergency's at that dictates how fast we can get here.
Right.
So our communication systems were part of the FirstNet. So during high traffic situations, should there be any kind of emergency event, our phones take priority over the general public. So even just having that is another step that allows us to be in contact. So if there was a delay for me to be here, at least I should be able to be in contact to say, hey, I'm on my way, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I concur. And I think that there's a good example of how your work and in conjunction with Sabra, on the communication on the outage we had a while back, is testimony to how this can all be done, virtually. So I have really very little concern about that. I think, and as I've looked at this, and I looked at the employee handbook, and, a lot of people are required to live in town. And that probably shouldn't be. Shouldn't be required to in this day and age. I think one of the goals, and I don't know this because wasn't in on the discussion, but one of the goals of this was to get people living in the community to become part of the community, not just attend events in the community, but be here, learn the fabric, all of that, be part of the deal. See you in the grocery store. If we were to expand this over time, we could have people, we could have significant people living in McMinnville. We could have people living in Corvallis that are working from home. This is the equivalent in some ways of working from home, and that's not necessarily what we're after. I guess I just think that I would be in support of this. I would like to see us put a little bit of a sunset on it. We did not do that with Rochelle, and it might have been an oversight, but a bit of a sunset that can be renewed. And so we can have a conversation about how important is it to have people that are central and core to the operation of the city to live in or very close to the city. And I understand your situation perfectly, and I'm going to be a yes on however this works out. But I do think that we ought to sort of take a little bit of a review of that. We're out of compliance with the handbook says that the city manager must live in town. And the charter says they can live out of town if they get council approval. So there's some things that we need to bring into alignment, and it might be a good time to give consideration to deciding whether or not our finance director needs to live in town. Or our library person needs to live in town. I could make the argument that some really probably should, but not all. So maybe a little longer conversation on that. So I don't know if there's any appetite to putting say we grant this exception for 2 years with the possibility of extension if necessary. To me, it would help Wade. It would give a little bit of a time crunch on us to make a final decision and determination on how we want to do this. So I guess those are my thoughts.
Counselor Lopez?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Would you entertain a motion?
I would.
All right. I move to approve allowing Power and Light Director Wade Carey an exception to the residency requirements identified in Chapter 5, Section D of the Employee Handbook to accommodate living outside of the Monmouth city limits up to a 30-minute drive time.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Counselor Lopez, for the motion, and Counselor McKeel for the second. And I think that's an interesting thought, Counselor Carey. We do want to look at this. And in the old days, people moved here because there was housing, and there were a variety of housing types and situations. And we all know that's harder to come by for folks. I appreciate that Director Carey has given us a sort of a 1-year timeline. He's leasing for a year and during that time, and we happen to know he has additional incentives to live as close to being in the city limits as possible, since his spouse is also employed just a couple of miles down the road. So I trust that at that time, if we want to talk again, so I wouldn't put a time limit on his specific request at this time, just because he's kind of given us a time limit in which he would potentially be back to us if there isn't anything in 30 minutes, and we'd be having this convo again, but this would be open-ended.
That is open.
Yeah. Councilor Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to state that as Councilor Carey suggests, am also interested separately in reviewing our policies here. In my mind, these items such as, where individuals live, et cetera, those are addressed not only through through how vibrant our community is, but also that's a staff acquisition, staff retention, the talent acquisition and talent retention matter. And I would like to view them, any decisions like this, holistically, not just in, how they impact the community, but how they impact the city's ability to attract and retain top staff. And the top staff and top members of our team, those individuals, such as Wade, I believe, make this community the beautiful community that it is. And so I do very much look forward to a future robust discussion on where we should stand on this.
All right. Anything else? We do have a motion available. We made the motion. All right. I'll have Phyllis. Didn't we? Yeah, motion. Okay. Thank you. Yes. And so Phyllis, will you do the roll call, please?
Counselor Carey,
I'm supporting of this, but I'm going to vote no on it because I think we ought to put a timeline on it. Otherwise, it's open-ended. And I'm glad you're able to do what you're able to do.
Thank you.
Counselor McKeel,
Yes.
Counselor Ridgway,
Nay.
Counselor Belts,
Yes.
we didn't get that, Counselor
Yes.
Belts? Yes, okay. Counselor Lopez,
Aye.
Counselor Oberst,
Yes.
motion passes 4-2.
All right. We'll have our discussion well before a year is up then, so that when Wade does start looking for permanent housing, he would know which way we're going to go. And potentially before we hire a finance director, even maybe if we have to. All right. Thank you very much. And good. Glad you're closer. The other side of the coast range is a little bit harder to navigate. So that brings us to the mayor's report. And it's been a busy couple of weeks for all of us, I think. We've had the opportunity to welcome our WU students. We've had a very packed League of Oregon Cities conference. And I just wanted to share a couple things from that. The one session I attended was on the legislative update. And a couple of things from that. Well, before we get to the legislative update, so Councilor Belts can sit up. If you look at Councilor Belts's screen, you will see behind her a photo of a special cake that was made. This was the League of Oregon Cities 100th conference, 100th year, and there were many celebrations of that throughout the time. But at the awards banquet, this beautiful cake, which we'll get better pictures of it posted eventually, was actually designed and made by our city manager, Rochelle Roden. And
Ask for phone there.
oh, good. She's sharing photos with us of the whole actual cake. It was amazing. Got a lot of compliments about it throughout time. I'm sure she did as well, but it was really pretty stunning. And so we were happy to have an opportunity for the attendees from Monmouth and Independence to be able to get that photograph. So. It was, oh yeah, it took forever to cut, but it was amazing. It was really good. So
people who can't see it very clearly, you have Mount Good on there and other,
either turn your mic on.
So for folks who can't see this amazing, there's the Mount Hood and the Cannon Beach Rock is on there, and it's just an amazing cake, decorated cake. It's amazing.
Thank you. I tried to do the regions, and so the agricultural or the wheat was for central and eastern Oregon, and the top was a cityscape for the cities, and then the mountains. There's actually the Three Sisters were on the back, and Mount Jefferson was also on that tier, and then the McCullough Bridge. The president of the LOC is from North Bend, and that's the bridge, and then Haystack Rock and the Kissing Rock, which is down in Gold Beach.
So yes, that was a highlight. But now back to legislative update. A couple of things that pertain to us just to, and really the sort of overall theme was, a lot of stuff didn't get addressed in the long session, and we do have a short legislative session coming up. So LOC will be probably bringing these around again. One thing, House Bill 3634, and that was important to us. That was creating an operator training and apprentice program. And it specifically was about wastewater and water treatment apprentices. That died in Ways and Means. So that program was not funded. And we need to keep the pressure up on that because that is one of our areas, along with our Power and Light Department, where we are needing to get a new generation of trained folks in the pipeline. The other one, we often talk about our concerns about revenue constraints based on our property tax structure in Oregon, and a bill passed that actually will create a property tax study. So that's just, I know, just like the legislature, let's study something, right?
Baby steps are still steps.
Baby steps are steps. So there a recognition that we need to talk. Also, a few years ago, rural Polk County received a grant as part of a pilot project from the legislature to implement housing solutions, and that was where the funding came for PATHS, which is our Rural Polk County Alliance, separate from the Housing Homeless Alliance that is Marion Ann Polk. A House bill passed that actually expands that pilot that we were part of. There were 5-6 pilot cohorts or something around the state. Rural Polk County was one. So that has passed, which will allow in shelter funding, Safe Park and small pod sites will be allowed to be funded through that, although the funding was cut, and I'm afraid will still be in jeopardy. That was something that was funded. And also there were a couple of bills that will allow easier bonding for housing projects, especially for smaller communities in partnership with nonprofits. So that's good news, and we'll be on the lookout for ways to take advantage of those kinds of things. So a lot of other stuff in the legislature and some other great sessions that I attended. And I guess Roxanne can't tell us what she attended, but maybe Counselor Lopez will add something during council comments on his attendance. And it was great to see our council, the SEL kind, Justin Thorpe attended, and Greg both attended the League of Oregon Cities. So I got to see them in several sessions as they are learning more about how to support us. So that was awesome. And that's my report. Reports of council representatives of boards and commissions. What we got going on, Councilor Lopez?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I will hold my LOC reports till council comments, but I do have a report from the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance. This is a little bit of a catch-up report. The Homeless Alliance met September 11th. This was immediately following the last session, and then I was out of town, actually out of state for the following council meeting. So this report is coming to you one meeting late. The Homeless Alliance has been fairly busy lately. There's quite a bit going on in that space, both on the federal level and the state level. I'll take a moment to remind everyone that the COC structure, the Continuum of Care structure, which creates the Homeless Alliance, lives under the Office of Housing and Urban Development there. And so, there are some changes there. More that we don't know about than we do. Those changes are also wrapped up in the budget process right now, those potential changes. So I anticipate, I'm going to put some good things out there, anticipate that by our next meeting, I will have more concrete information for you regarding what's coming down from the federal level regarding these organizations. However, on the local level, the Alliance is engaged in some recruitment efforts, trying to work with cities on both sides of the river to bring more cities into the Alliance. I know that the city of Woodburn is considering joining the Alliance. I've heard through the grapevine that some other cities on this side of the river are considering joining the Alliance as well. And so there's some exciting local support for these endeavors. The Alliance is also working in partnership with health-based organizations to give feedback on the CHIP. That's the Community Health. What is the I? Implementation something. It's a plan that's being created that integrates different health and also homelessness aspects for broader positive outcomes in the community. And I will come back with the proper acronym next time. Oh, there we are. Community Health Improvement Plan is CHIP. And the Alliance is also working on putting together a plan. They have an active work group right now for the PIT count. This is something you will hear me speak about more and more often in the coming months. The PIT count is a point-in-time count. And so that is the annual nationwide assessment of who is homeless in each community. They do counts both sheltered and unsheltered individuals in every community. And these counts are incredibly important because not only does it tell us, is what we're doing working? It tells us what the state of people in need are. It also provides important data for our region to be able to look for further funding. And while the PIT count, the point in time count, is a federal count, it's organized kind of the federal level at the high level. all data is good data, and so these data points that come out of it do factor into state and other local funding decisions. So please look forward to that. There's always opportunities to help and volunteer with it, and a big part about that is just getting the word out. So as that work group continues in its work, and as that work progresses, you'll hear a number of updates from me in the coming months. And then finally, the Homeless Alliance is potentially considering moving their operations. They have been centered out of the COG building, and with a tight relationship with the Council of Governments. They're currently discussing other options as far as where they could move their operations and still have meeting space, etc. And so I don't believe this directly impacts anyone here, but they are looking for a new physical home. So and that concludes my report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, other boards, Councillor McKeel and Councillor Oberst.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have two reports tonight. One is from the Monmouth Transportation Commission. They met on September 8th, but I wasn't here at the last council meeting, so I'm catching up with that as well. One of the things that they did is they reviewed the street fund capital projects that are related to transportation at the 25-26 budget, and looking at the ADA ramps that they need to still be working on with Ackerman. Also talked about applying for the Safe Routes to School again in the spring. We're still working at getting those sidewalks on Alberta Avenue. So we are continually hopeful for that. We're also looking to put in one of those flashing lights that pedestrians can use to stop traffic on Main Street, right at Ash Creek Station. And this is really depending on state budgeting with ODOT. So again, keeping fingers crossed there as well. We're going to be putting up 3 speed feedback signs to let people know how much out of compliance they are coming into town. This will go on. No, and I do not speed anymore. I used to, but. So this is going to be on North 99 and South, on 99 North and South of Main Street and on Falls City Highway. And I just want to, with that too, I would just like to thank Chief Haynes for the feedback sign that goes up more regularly on Clay Street. So I was just coming in today and I saw a lot of people going 20 miles an hour. So that really does help remind people. We also have been working really well on as bike safety. This is in, we've been working with Commission member Linda Bersani, and she has set up bike safety at Monmouth Elementary School. They're going to have a session in the spring with 3rd through 5th graders. So we'll have, and now the next thing that we're trying to do with the Transportation Commission is to get kids on the bikes and using them more. So hopefully we'll be able to come up with a project on that. Then finally, the commission is concerned with the congestion that's on, what is that, 16th Avenue with the high school and the middle school, and people trying to cross lanes. And so Chief Haynes is going to be working with the school district, hopefully to help with some of those congestion issues. And the next meeting is on December 8th at 7 p.m. at the police station. So that concludes that one, and I'll just move on to the next one. So we don't have a historic commission report, but I do want to report on the amazing History and Mystery program, History and Mystery of Monmouth, program that was last Friday, October 5th. We had a couple hundred people that enjoyed that event on Main Street in downtown. And it was kicked off by the New Horizons Orchestra, which if you haven't heard them, they are amazing, our own local orchestra. And then we had 5 storytellers that were located around the Main Street Park, Luna's Cafe, and Mamirs. And Historic Commissioner Amy Lemko, let's see if I can do a camera here, created a new set of stories that were in this year's commemorative booklet, making it very popular indeed. And just a shameless plug, we do have a few left over, so you can reach out to Suzanne Duffner, the Community Development Manager, and she will get you a copy. And we'll also have them available at the Spring Historic event that's held in May. Big thanks to Mamir's House for opening the historic Howell House for tours and tarot card readings. Tarot cards, yeah. Well, I'm trying to think of some kind of joke about seeing the future and it just didn't come up, so I couldn't even read the words. So that was a lot of really amazing volunteers that made this event possible. So thank you to everybody.
I also have two. My first one is relatively short. Tree board came off of hiatus on the 18th. We are planning one, maybe two tree planting this fall in Madrona Park, possible maple tree south of the restroom. And we had put a tulip tree in last year east of the restroom area and that developed path that comes up from the street. And we're looking at either an incense cedar or a western red cedar near that tulip tree. We had one tree from the spring tree planting that when the burlap was cut off, that there weren't very many roots, and it went in the ground and it promptly got very saggy and sad. And it was concluded that we would probably be replacing that tree, but it came back to life and it put on fresh growth, and it is still alive at this point. So we're going to keep our eyes on that as well. We absolutely jumped the gun, and we have set April 18th next year as our spring tree planting. So we will keep you informed on that as we go. The 23rd was the Senior Advisory Board. And I think the biggest thing there is there's a series of 3 events. The first one is passed, and that was on the 30th, and the film No Place to Grow Old with a dinner. And this is a film that points out the difficulties that seniors are having in finding affordable places to live. Fixed income and rents go up, deposits go up, et cetera. So that film was focused on that. On October 9th, which would be Thursday, the Oregon head of the AARP is going to be coming to town, and she will be leading a discussion around trends in the needs that seniors are facing in their housing. So, I think we'll learn some interesting things there about exactly what senior housing needs are. And then on November 15th, we're having all these are at the Senior and Community Center at noon, a listening and visioning session to talk about what would senior housing in Monmouth look like. What would if you could reimagine a senior community center from the ground up, what would that look like, et cetera. So that, again, is coming up on the 15th. Our director, Barbara, went to, speaking of acronyms, Chris, OSEBA, which is the Oregon Center of Excellence for Behavioral Health and Aging, and learned a lot about problems around behavioral health and addiction and so on in the senior population. She also attended an AARP Age-Friendly Summit. And then our chair has been working on swimming in the local pools for seniors. The Dallas facility has a number of classes now. They accept a lot of the insurances that are out there for seniors. And they kind of hinted that they might be able to add a class if there were enough people, say, if the Senior Community Center loaded up the nice bus that they recently purchased and took people over. There was not at this point an offer of reduced price if we showed up en masse, but I think that will be a continuing piece of the program. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Ridgway and Councillor Oberst, if you can turn off your mic.
Oh.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. No updates since the last
council meeting, but I will announce that tomorrow, the Parks and Recreation Board is meeting for the monthly meeting. So hopefully we'll have some more updates next session.
All right. And nothing from planning because we heard from them earlier. That takes us to our city manager's report. Michelle Roden, cake baker extraordinaire.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to, in your packet, we included an update for the Monmouth City Council strategic goals. I'd like to apologize for the very small print that I hadn't seen it in print till I got back from the LFC. And so we'll work to try to make this so it's a much easier document to read. But staff did do an update of the refreshed goals. And so if you have any questions or concerns, please let us know. Then I'll just to go into my update. I did mention that the trolley IGA. So just to touch back on that, a couple weeks ago, I attended the City of Independence Council meeting to help if there were any questions, and they were able to approve the IGA, and so that's gone through that. It is now sitting with President Jesse Peters at Western Oregon University, and then once that goes through that portion, it'll come back to our City Council for approval, and also for an ordinance to establish the entities that the advisory committee and the operations committee. Our goal is to hopefully have all of that done and be able to hopefully have the first meeting in January, February of next year and get that moving. For the trolley shelters, as you know, we have 8 that we have built so that we are waiting for Chariots to complete the installation. Councilor Oberst had emailed me in regards to being concerned about the weather conditions and seeing a father and a 3-year-old waiting for the trolley in the rain. And what can we do? So I kind of elevated the request to get an update on that, was able to get that today. And so of the 8 stops, 2 will be installed in October, the one on Main and Ketron, and then Monmouth and Second, which is near the Independence Library. There are 3 that require engineering and design, which are at 85% complete in that phase, and then construction will occur in January. And the other 3 require ODOT permitting, so we're waiting for an installation date for those, but the permits have been signed, and hopefully that won't take more than a couple months to get those in. Just to let you know, Tall Cop is October 15th and 16th. That's coming. And approximately 200 professionals are signed up for the session that's in collaboration with Polk County, and this is at Western Oregon University. And then in addition, there's one for a community session, and so 50 people have signed up for that. So we feel pretty excited about the involvement in that. Finance update, I know I sent you an email, but just to reiterate on that. So I brought back our previous finance director, Janet Chenard, and also hired a consultant to come in, Amy Metler, who's a CPA. And so they've been working for the past 2 weeks. Janet is helping Amy get the lay of the land, understand where everything is and how the process has worked. And so she's continuing to work on the audit. And then Janet is continuing to work on finalizing year end. And work on the budget. GFOA has given us an extension to be able to apply for that with our 25-26 budget. So Janet's also working on that. So I've asked them to hopefully we'll have some financial updates for you within the next month, because it's very important to know where we're at. And so they're working on that, but it's worked well so far. The IT update. So with our new budget, we talked about moving away from Polk IT and hiring an IT administrator that would work with Jason Kistler out of Independence. His name is Derek Bowers, and he started late last week. I had the privilege of taking him around yesterday, and they came to our management meeting this morning to kind of give everybody an update. Polk IT is pushing to have this transfer completed by November 9th. Which is a much quicker timeline than what we had anticipated. So we had a meeting today at the police department to kind of go over first steps and what are the most critical areas. And so we're working through that. We may have a bit of a bumpy road, but we think it's going to be great to get off of that system and get onto the new system. The quarterly town hall is next Tuesday, and that's Director Wade Carey updating the community on energy and our new rates. Leaf pickup brochures hit mailboxes last weekend. The first round of leaf pickup begins October 17th. Instead of a trifold brochure this year, staff designed a postcard with the key dates and a QR code for more information. The library, the 30th anniversary is October 15th of that library opening. And so they're having an open house at the library from 10 to 4. Fall Fest, which is Friday, October 10th from 1 to 3, Public Works grew pumpkins that they bring to the library, and children get to, I don't know if they paint them or cut. Okay. Yeah. But it's very exciting. I'm told I'm going to be over there for that one because it seems pretty exciting. I guess Public Works is very excited about bringing the pumpkins, and the kids are very excited about getting the pumpkins. And so it's going to be pretty fun. Also, the library has a Medicare 101 session Thursday, October 9th at 2 p.m. And they're doing a free computer class for Google Docs on October 15th at 10. Did you mention soup and pie? No. Okay. So the Friends of the Mom and Senior Center have a craft supply sale coming up this Saturday on the 11th. And then the soup and pie sale will be October 23rd, back by popular demand. And that's all I have.
I did want to mention one thing, another legislative update that pertains to our goals, and I've already mentioned this to Director Carey. Under our goal 2 and 2.3, we've had discussions about community solar, about a project that would encourage community solar. Senate Bill 5518 passed in the recent legislative session, which actually allocates funding for renewable energy projects and specifically in rural communities. So there are some either grant or loan opportunities, and it looks like those are, there weren't a lot of details yet that I could see except contact your regional solutions team. And we happen to have a good relationship with her. So that's looks like potentially there's some money, and it's on our goals as look for funding opportunities, and there might be one. So looking forward to that. All right, any other council announcements or comments? Councillor Lopez, you wanted to mention about LOC, your experience?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Madam Mayor. And gosh, these League of Oregon Cities conference are always so packed with information, packed with relationships, and this one, again, a highlight was being packed with that cake. Yes, they did serve it. Yes, it was a hit. We were not the only group that took photos in front of the cake, and truly an incredible achievement, incredible talent there. As always, my favorite aspects of these conferences are those relationship building opportunities. And in those relationships, I think we learn a lot about how things are done elsewhere. Because oftentimes I take for granted that, even things as simple as the structure of a council meeting is universal. There was a fairly robust discussion in the counselors' workshop about how counselor meetings could or should or would be organized, and the format as to where council comments exists, and to whether or not it's acceptable to amend the agenda. And I've got to say, many of these discussions, and this is not why I go, but many of these discussions were incredibly grounding and reinforced how well we are doing things here. And I don't say that lightly. There are many in those rooms that stand up and, like to espouse how great their communities are. I did not, but I will come back into this room to espouse my thanks that I get to sit here at the dais next to all of you and work with all of you to serve our community. Really, it drove home how special of a synergy we have going on in this room and in this city. A couple highlights, and I won't touch on every session that I attended, but a couple highlights. building home ownership, how to leverage private-public partnerships to meet Oregon's needs. There are some really cool things that other communities are doing with deed restrictions, some things that they're working to do regarding SDCs. Some of this needs legislative action, much of it doesn't. There's also some funding coming down the pike with MERL. Talk about an acronym that's a really rough acronym, Moderate Income Revolving Loan Program. This was Senate Bill 1537. And it is potentially on the chopping block because it's been made possible, the initial funds through some federal funding, but right now it's still moving forward, and some exciting things there. LIFT funding through OHCS, being able to use these couple funding streams to really attract builders that will build affordable homes. The other thing that I took away from that, one question we often ask in this room is, well, how do we get those builders interested? That question was asked of the panel and they said, call us and tell us you're interested. And that there are some other ways that can be done, revising code, et cetera. But they said, again, council, talk about it. If council is excited about these things, we're excited. If staff's calling us, we're excited. So those are some actionable things that we can do in this space to attract that kind of investment in our community. There was a wonderful session on mindfulness that was more practical. I won't bore you with that, but I've got some techniques if anyone's curious. Yeah, it was a great session. One of the
It's a retired police officer who now teaches mindfulness well-being. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he taught well-being and mindfulness with a lot of curse words.
Definitely a lot of four-letter words in that in that
interesting.
space.
In a mindfulness workshop, he was great.
He took a very practical approach to mindfulness and utilizing it as a tool, not as, an answer. One of my favorite sessions, and I'll highlight this briefly here, was with Ron Holifield. He's part of a consulting firm. They do executive searches, other things, but I've always been impressed by his ability to relate and drip knowledge to an audience. And so, if ever, this is my third time hearing him speak. One of my takeaways here: council's role isn't in strategic planning, it's in strategic vision. And I do believe that that's something that we are excelling here. He also is always encouraging folks to think about not the next election, but the next generation, and some other wonderful truths that he left. So needless to say, this was a highly engaging League of Oregon Cities conference for me. And there are a number of takeaways that I plan on bringing back. The biggest takeaway that I want to bring back here into this room actually comes from that first session, the counselor's workshop. And that counselor's workshop was put on by the executive director of the League of Idaho Cities. And she encouraged everyone in the room to, if they aren't already reviewing their city values, to do that. I think we do a fair job on that. But to add civility as a core value of the city. And I think that is something that is unstated here. It hasn't had to be stated. We have been fairly civil. Not fairly civil, we've been excelling in this space. But to write it down and encode that into our core values, she urged everyone in the room to do that because that means that it's there for when you need it, right? So may we never need it, but I will be moving forward into our council planning later this winter and making a request to review those to add civility. That concludes my report on the League of Oregon Cities. Thank you.
And I've been asked to speak for Roxanne, who is technologically challenged here. If you look at her screen now, you will see Roxanne was on the board of the Women's Caucus of the League of Oregon Cities, and this year the Women's Caucus sponsored our closing keynote session, and the panel for that session was former Governor Barbara Roberts, retired Senator Betsy Johnson, and our current state treasurer, Elizabeth Steiner, who is also a former legislator. It was a absolutely inspirational, outstanding presentation. And Roxanne was able to get this photograph. It kind of looks photoshopped, but that is actually Roxanne and Governor Roberts. And really a great sort of panel discussion asking about their lives and some of the things that they've encountered, challenges and things. And so it was, and for those of you who've ever heard Betsy Johnson speak, a lot of other colorful language may have ensued, but it was a great session. So thank you, Roxanne, for the work of the Women's Caucus to give us that opportunity, and glad that you got that photograph. So anything else before? All right, Carol McKeel.
Thanks. I'd like to read the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that Indigenous tribes and bands have been on the lands here and throughout Oregon since time immemorial. It is not lost on us that the Willamette Treaty forcibly removed these peoples from their homelands in 1855 to 1856, the year that the city of Monmouth was founded. We recognize the pre-existing and continued sovereignty of the federally recognized tribes that are a vibrant part of this region today, the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde Community and the Confederated Tribes of Siletz Indians, and thank them for sharing their perspective on how we might care for one another and the land so it can take care of us. We commit to engaging in a respectful and successful partnership as stewards of these lands.
And Councillor Carey.
Just a quick moment to sort of tag on to Councillor Lopez's comments regarding the way we do business here, the way we function well, the way we do need a civility deal, but we haven't had to invoke it. I'm maybe one of the few people that still reads the Statesman Journal, and if you've been following that, I can guarantee you that we would not be in the ethics flap that the Salem City Council and mayor is in under any circumstances. We were trained well. It was drilled in. Our knuckles were rapped more than once. You've got fertile ground to work with there, Justin. But I just read that and I thought, holy cow, how in the world did they think that was a good idea? Anyway, just sort of tagging on to you, Chris. I had occasion to go to our library, the Monmouth City Library, and do some research on a project I was working for at the university. And they have a local history section that's under lock and key, actually. And if you want to have some, it's sort of morbid fun, but if you want to go back and look at some of the old annuals or the old yearbooks from Oregon College of Education, man, I'm telling you, what a different time in the world that was. It was refreshing to do. And then on another note that we just need to be aware of and keep your ears open on it, the solid waste disposal issue is continuing at Coffin Butte. There's a hearing later this month, a public hearing about the expansion of that. I don't know how it's going to all work, but that in conjunction with, the transfer station that's been proposed up here at the dairy. You see the number of white trucks that go driving by, and they're all going to one place. And if that gets shut off somehow, you don't know. And then the other thing about that, just recently, this whole leachate thing, the water, the fluids that leach out of the solid water, that's being gathered up and shipped to Salem and run through their sewage system, their sanitary sewer system, and then ultimately, including the forever chemicals, dumped into the Willamette River, down south of, down at, Windsor Island, I guess it is. You know, and there's regulations on that and there's all that, but it's a problem and it's an issue and it won't affect us as much as it will affect Brant's, which will affect rates, which will affect our residents. So just the more we're aware of that, you know, I've become interested in it, garbage in and garbage out, I suppose. But it's something we all need to be conscious of and aware of.
All right. Thank you. Final motion of the night.
Madam Mayor, I move we adjourn.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Everybody, have a good evening.